You are on camera.
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Kemau to Cape Palm, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Bokonjre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment. Business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
And I am Gabriel Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another session of Focus on Liberia. I am your co-host here, Gabriel Carter. Today I have in the studio with me my usual writer with me. I have Jimmy, and today we have a special guest, um, Flomo Kezelli. So Jimmy, just give me a little bit. Let me have Mr. Kezelli introduce himself, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll jump right into the show. Since I think today, this is your first time with us, so I think even on Focus on Liberia, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And again, I know you're a financial heavyweight, so it's great to have you here to have another, person on the team that who has a great depth of background. But let me not do the talking. Uh, would you please maybe take maybe 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself for the audience, if you may?
Sure, no problem.
So if they know how to attack you, they know exactly what to come for. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I know that. Well, first, let me say thank you, Mr. Gabriel Carter.
You're a little bit lower. I don't know if it's me.
Let me see.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Now we can hear you.
Okay, great. First, again, let me say thank you, Mr. Gabriel Carter. Thank you, Jimmy Eastman, Dennis Jack, and the entire Focus on Liberia team. You guys are doing great. Locally and internationally, informing our audience out there is a great thing. My name is Flomo G. Kezelli. Originally, I'm from Lofa County. My parents is from Lofa, but I was born in Tubman, Bomi County. I grew up on the Hotel Africa Road, outside Monrovia, Muscle County. I attended the AME Zion University on the Benson Street then, where I earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in criminal justice minoring in political science. And thereafter, I moved to the U.S. I attended the Keller Graduate School at DeVry University in Illinois, where I earned my first master's in public administration with concentration on what we call a focus in health administration. And then I didn't sit there like let me continue, and I went back. I got another master's, which is the MBA with a concentration in finance. And then I moved there, and then I said, you know what, let me continue again. Went back. I got another master's in 2022, or to be precise, August 27. I got a master's in project management. Um, and then I also a senior fellow at the National Society of Leadership and Success with headquarters in Florida. And I'm also a lifetime member of an institution in Illinois called the Delta Mu Delta, where I was honored as the insignia of society,
Yeah.
which means leader of society.
Yeah.
If you go back, it's probably online on the front page Africa, where I earned the valedictorian in 2020 at DeVry University, coming out with a 4.00 in my MBA program,
Yeah.
where I serve as the graduate speaker. I serve as the speaker for the commencement ceremony in 2020. With that being said, employment wise, I do work for U.S. Bank. If you all know, U.S. Bank, the fifth largest bank in America and Canada. We also have subsidiaries. In, we also have subsidiary in Ireland, United Kingdom, Lithuania. We have in Luxembourg. We have subsidiary there. So in my role at US Bank, I work as a senior global financial analyst.
Yeah.
I manage a portfolio of over $5 billion,
Yeah.
which might be over our country budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my capacity as a senior global financial analyst, I am responsible to evaluate funds that are coming in and going out of the bank. Um, I manage worthy clients of portfolio, their accounts. I ensure that at the end of the year, like right now, I'm doing what we call auditing. I'm doing auditing right now to ensure that all the books are balanced for those worthy clients, uh, and also making sure that calculating profitability for the bank to ensure that, well, we did our job on a good scale. Um, for sure, as a senior global financial analyst for US Bank, um, you will realize that in my role, every day I'm busy. I work very hard for the company.
Mhm.
I'm a trusted person, and that is the reason why I'm being put in this capacity to work as a senior global analyst, financial analyst, to say. Uh, well, maybe as we go through the show, if anybody has questions, I will go further to explain more in more detail.
Perfect. That was my man. That was a handful. I like the as I said when I spoke to you, I like your background. I too am in financial. I have a financial background, but I really like your background, and I like the the diversity. I don't know if you interacted with Jimmy behind closed door. Jimmy is a senior engineer here
Oh,
as well. Yeah, so I like the diversity of knowledge. I like the diversity of ideas that we have on the show. And as I said to you before, behind, when you and I spoke, this is probably the only show on if you scan the whole Liberian networks of media that talks business, finance, and economics to the length we talk about it. And it's good to have people with expertise, deep background, not just expertise, but deep experience that are able to talk about these things. So it's good to have you on here, and hopefully this won't be your last time
oh no, I'll
showing up here.
always be.
Even if it is, I will be bugging your phone
No,
every time to get you back on here. Just
I
Jimmy,
was always trying my best to come on.
perfect. That's good. Jimmy, welcome. Jimmy is usually what there's I think there's several of us here, but Jimmy has been consistent with me here.
Oh
So
yeah,
Yeah,
I follow the show. I see Jimmy is always on.
yeah. He's very, and that's what I like. It's one thing to get excited about something, but it's one thing to do it consistently, even when you're tired. And I think there's a lot I learned from his consistency here. But Jimmy,
Well, I always say economics was my first love.
yeah,
So I really appreciate talking about the topic of economics.
right.
And I'm glad to be able to fill in because I used to watch the show and when you and Alex was on, and I used to always make my comments and contribute. But I'm your backer man. I'm your wingman. Anytime you're ready, just let me know.
That's exactly what I said. I like, that's what I
Yeah.
said. You're very consistent. And for me, as I said, it teach me a lot about being consistent as well. And so thank you for always, being riding shotgun with us here. Um,
Yeah,
so again, today's is going to be a very interesting topic. We want to do a part two of what we talked about last week, which is looking at what to expect from the Boakai administration or the Boakai government or the United Party administration. Um, but there are other things we want to add to that. Um, so hopefully we can do that within an hour and a half and without going over. But if not, maybe 2 hours. But hopefully we'll keep that within an hour and a half. Um, So the reason why we're doing a part two of that is because of the demand that we had last week. There was a lot of interaction. We had a lot of people. Hopefully we get our same interaction today. So as we usually say, wherever you are, take your time, share. Grab a cup of water, coffee, palm wine, or whatever you drink. Sit down for the next hour and a half, and just let's have a great discussion. you know, as we always say, bring your opinions, but most importantly, bring your perspective because we love perspective, and comment as well. And if there's something we didn't get correctly, challenge us in the comment. We love that. So, again, thank you for joining us. And so let's just dive right into uh, you know the show.
That's it.
Before we dive in, any of you guys have any thoughts on the topic of discussion today? Uh, the
No,
reason why I
I'm
want to
good.
maybe get your or maybe opening is because you know we've seen what is happening in the so far since the election was concluded. Uh, we hearing about there's the country is in default by 29 million. I mean, we haven't paid our bills for the last 2 months. I think it's 29 million.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I
right.
see that the IMF even put a pause.
Exactly. So they
Yeah.
put a pause on giving us any more money until we can know pay the arrears, right? We've seen comments from the Amara Conan saying that we should manage of our expectation because of you know what we're getting into, whatever that means. You can make uh, any thought of it or what you want to make of it. We also want to talk about how we think they should declare assets. So that way we have level expectations. So if you're coming in power, I'm coming in power. I know the government, the public know exactly how much money Gabriel had before he took office, or how much
Hmm.
money Kazeli or Jimmy had before he took office. So if they see me putting up mansion or going on these elaborate trip, they can do a assessment within themselves and say, hey, this guy is not making that much money to build up these properties as well. We're going to talk about the economic team that he selected. We're also going to assess the kilometers of roads that we have built and how much is left to be completed. So there's a lot to talk about here. So before we jump into that, I want to hear your thoughts on you know what we're going to talk about here. I know I said a handful.
No,
Right.
we good. Well, let me come in and say this to my Liberian people and to everyone. Uh, it's very challenging for any new government. It's very, very challenging. So let us not expect for President-elect Boakai and his team to fulfill our drain with immediate effect. It's challenging. Look, if we can be default on our debts in an outside war, that tells you that we have a serious challenge. That Boakai going to have a serious challenge. Uh, but for accountability purposes, uh, what I expect from Ambassador Boakai and his team uh, are 5 cardinal points. 5 cardinal points. One, he should be appointing credible and qualified people. That's the first thing. Appoint people of trust, people of high level of credibility, people that have already earned the public trust, people who will be well schooled to whatever profession they're going to be working in. You don't just take anybody, for example, somebody did agriculture, but then you want to send them to the Liberian National Police to be police director. There will be what we call complete malfunction. You don't appoint people who already have stain on their character when it comes to public trust. No. So he should be appointing qualified and credible people. The second one is the asset declaration is very important. People need to declare their assets to Liberian people. Let people declare their assets. Because that way, the people will definitely know what you're coming with, what you have already inherited before coming to office. People will be aware of it. Because that way, it can serve as a tracking point for the people on public officials. Because when you start driving luxury vehicle that your salary cannot even afford you, and then we begin to question you. The third one is making credible and legitimate connection for employment. So effective JMB gets to office, he needs, as well as his team, they need to come together, making credible and legitimate connection out there. Come to America, go to Europe, seek connection that will create vibrant employment for our people. We got companies out there. Invite them to come over. Let them come. Create a suitable environment for them to come to invest in our country. We will create employment for our people. Yeah, industrial employment. That needs to be done. The fourth one is building a vibrant international relationship. So wherever you got your embassy, it's about time you begin to go on the drawing board to create a suitable, a conducive relationship with the host government. Because through that, businesses in those host countries, investors in the host country will find it credible to come over for investment. So creating a vibrant international relationship. Like for example, the United States I'm urging Ambassador Boakai to begin putting an act together and working with Uncle Sam. It is very, very important. Number 5, security. Security is very, very, very important. You can go out there, you will establish the relationship, you will love it around. Come on. Security is very important for our country. That people will be able to walk on the principal street of Monrovia or Liberia without being harassed. Security is very paramount to any governing society. So the president-elect and his team should place serious focus when it comes to security. And the last one, which I would say will be the sixth one is currency evaluation. Currency. In any striving society, currency plays a significant role in the restructuring of that nation. Like right now, the US dollar to the Liberian dollar is so hard, very, very hard, is wrong. If we can have what we call a fixed rate, it will give our currency a high value. And when it gives our currency a high value, it creates importance for us, for the nation. It creates attraction. But as it stands, our currency is of no attraction because of the kind of rate. Rate kind of fluctuate. It goes up, it comes down. For the past regime, the currency has just been a high level. So those are things that I think the economic team for Ambassador Boakai should come together. Um, I just realized that he's putting an economic team together, which is a good thing. But let us not forget, those people need to be credible people, people who are schooled in that capacity. Because when you take a novice, you be making it hard for you. So for now, I turn it back over to you, Mr. Gabriel. I'm not hearing.
You can hear me?
Yeah,
Thank,
yeah.
thank you. That was a great opening, and I think there are a lot of things you said in that opening that I think some of them we have in our notes here that we're going to cover. But thank you. I think you did a blanketed, uh, in terms of alluded to some of the topics we're going to talk about here. Jimmy, before we jump into that, I just wanted to hear your idea, your thoughts on what we're going to be talking about today. Either that or just your overview of what you have seen so far since the election concluded, in terms of
Okay,
what we call
so
what in this transitory period to inauguration.
okay, just what my younger brother was saying just now, Kesali. Um, the economic woes of the country are probably going to be center stage.
Hmm.
There was a lot of strife. People were used to complain about not being able to get jobs, not getting their salaries on time. Harmonization reduce wages for many, and we don't see the private sector growing.
Hmm.
We don't. We've in fact witnessed the closure of a couple of international companies, and the Liberian dollar from 2017 compared to the U.S. dollar
Hmm.
has been going down.
Hmm.
When the dollar, when the Liberian dollar goes down, it makes imported goods more expensive.
Right.
So again, that reduces the disposable income for most Liberian households.
Hmm.
And then lastly, did not see a growth in productivity. I know a lot of people like to look at the GDP, or they prefer to look at just growth.
Yeah.
But for me, I prefer looking at the productivity index.
Yeah.
How much economic activity is going on in the country? Not just simply um, the purchase of goods, but the making of goods. As you
Hmm.
well know, the GDP is supposed to be composed of goods and services. So how much is services growing?
Yeah.
And those are the parameters I think I see this government will have to focus on. It's going to be interesting
Hmm.
because, and the reason why I say that, because regardless of people's economic background, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of the academics, it's going to take some ingenuity to spark that economy because we're in competition with the world.
Hmm.
All our neighboring countries have most of the same products we have,
Right.
and they are leading us. Look at cocoa. Look at manioc or cassava.
Cassava, yeah.
Look at I mean all the produce that we produce. The people are way ahead of us now. In fact, it has gotten to the point that we're importing from them. So, how do you stimulate that economic activity? Will require some genius, and given your limitations, given the current conditions of the country, it will require Liberians all grasping the concept of whatever they're going to promote and working toward it sacrificially.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very interested to see what they're going to do because it's a daunting task,
Hmm.
and it's going to require some unique ingenuity and negotiations and strategies
Okay.
that will boost the economy. So it's very interesting to I think it's a nice point we are. I didn't mention it before, but I have a more of an engineering background,
Hmm.
and so when I look at situations, especially when things are broke, when things need fixing,
Hmm.
I look at those as opportunities to do something, not as hard, not as difficulties, but rather opportunities to create something that somebody else hasn't done. So I think we got a lot of expectations from this team,
Yeah.
and a lot of it to me, I think I've touched on it in the last show.
Hmm.
You're again, I said we're competing against everybody in the world. So a lot of times your bilateral from country to country, country to country,
Hmm.
will be a unique can be used for as a unique boost, a unique opportunity. Because if you can strike a deal with a country or bilateral, I'm not talking. Most people think about loans. I'm not looking at loans. I'm looking at a unique opportunity with a country like a Germany,
Right.
China, or USA. A unique understanding and relationship that will promote growth and development in the country.
Hmm.
And I mean, everybody comes to the table, right? Everybody's asking.
Yeah.
A lot of people hands out. What
Yeah.
makes you unique? What makes them going to do something different for you? So
Right.
you're going to have to sell your uniqueness,
Take
your
competitive
strategy,
advantage. Right.
yes, so that they will take you in a different
Serious.
way.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So thank you both, and I think so let's get right into this. I think you guys, thank you for what giving expose as well, and everything you talked about here, and Kazeli talked about what we want to talk about, but more in we want to what we started last week. We want to flush out those ideas and thoughts and perspective, and just be able to have a discussion. And I think what you guys open with are exactly what we want to talk about. So if you guys been following social media, the former Minister of Finance, Amar Conan, stated that we should manage our expectation. You know, but you know, this is following his comment that he made that after he said that the country actually defaulted on his debt. Supposedly, for me, there's two things I gleaned from that statement. One, you're either trying to prime a population or a people to not expect much from you, right? So
Yeah.
you pretty much priming them to lower their expectation, right? At the same time, we're making excuses in a subliminal way for the plans that you're going to make. And the reason why I say that, people might say that is a little bit harsh, right? And the reason why I say that is because if you go and petition for a job, you go interview for a job, they give you the job. You don't go tell the shareholders or the boss, say, oh, you know what, manage your expectations. This is why I came up with. This is why this is the last person that was in this role didn't do as much. This is what they did. So manage your expectation. What you should expect of me, right? This is exactly what is happening. So that way you're priming your boss to not, or the shareholders to not expect much from you. This is what I believe he's doing to the Liberian people. So he's putting out all these excuses of what happened to the in the previous government. Yes, we're in debt. Yes, we have defaulted. They have defaulted. But guess what? That's what you petition for. You ask for the job. They give it to you. I think if even if you're going to list what is happening within the economy, like that, the fact that we defaulted, you should also give a solution. This is where we have. This is where we are. We're $29 million, behind. However, we're going to do such and such. These are some of the steps we're going to take to bring us current and then continue, hopefully, negotiate with the World Bank to get us back on track. But you don't make that a statement and then you follow up with, manage your expectation. These are the people, this is the administration that said they were going to rescue us. While we're being rescued, we're supposed to be being rescued, we're being told to manage our expectation. So, with that being said, what do you think about the transitional team that you guys have seen so far that was put out there? And what do you expect of it? I've seen some usual faces on there.
Mhm.
Himself is on. Amar Collins is there. I saw, George Lobo there. I think you guys probably know most people in there than I do. But based on what you know, what are your expectations? What are your expectations for this transition or this transitional team that you can and equate to what to expect from this administration?
Wow. Well, the transitional team now, that's a temporary team. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
They're the ones going to try to tie over the previous administration to the new. Their job is to update, get updates, find where we are, all the where how much money we have on hand, what are things, the ongoing projects are, all the things that the current government is working on in the state of affairs, pretty much.
Right. Right.
And they're going to have to communicate that to the oncoming government and whoever's going to be in the various positions. So it's a temporary role,
Right.
and that's a good question because who would you want to head a transitory um, uh, team? You know, I
Right.
think the best kind of person for a transitory team is someone who pays attention to detail.
Uh-huh.
They will be noting all the different things that are relevant in the current and being able to set that up for the success in the successive administration.
Yeah.
So you probably there are all kinds of people you want. I'm going to look at the skill side. And you need some administrative people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
People with like Casilier, who's got a master's in public administration, because a lot of this is public administration.
Yep.
You need people who have done transition before. You know, transition also could be viewed as a change management.
Yep.
Yep.
Change
So
management.
you need
Yeah.
somebody versed in change management,
Hmm.
and and then who will set the stage for the next, for the turnover. Um, and what I've seen so far are yeah, familiar people, but I'm just waiting to see what they will do.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it and see what they will do.
Okay.
How they're going to handle it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Kazali, same question to you. Based on, I'm not sure if you saw the. Maybe I
No.
should paraphrase. I should maybe
Yes,
uh,
yeah. Just if I wish
reframe this question to
I
you.
could be told
Now,
those people on the transition team because I'm not on social media like that. So
right.
go
So,
ahead.
okay. So, given from what we've seen so far, um, and as Jimmy pointed out, we saw. I'm not similar to you, even though I follow social media. I'm not very. I said there's very few of those people I'm aware of that I know,
Yeah,
and that's not just in personal. I don't have any personal relationship with them, just on social media that I've seen on there. But what do you, given who they are, what do you think should be, whether you've seen them or not, or know them or not, what do
yeah,
you think their priority should be?
great. Thank you again, Gilbert. You know, like Esmond said, that the transitional team shouldn't be like owner of people who within a specific to say, oh, somebody who worked with a former president doing transition. No, transition should be people of expert within our field. Because let's say you're leaving one job to another job, that's a transition. You know, moving from one home to another home, that's a transition.
Mhm.
Because you plan, you did proper planning before you relocated. You did proper planning. That's why in America it is always said that you give 2 weeks notice
Mhm.
before you go to another job. Because what? You are transitioning. In within that 2 weeks, you are preparing yourself for your next role and putting together all the necessary mechanism for you to be successful in that new role. And also giving your incoming or former boss the opportunity
Mhm.
to put together to be able to work. That when you vacate that role, they know the next move. Now, but
Yeah.
let's focus on the presidential or transitional team.
Right.
Mm, As an expert, I will tell you that my um, recommendation to them is that I got here. One moment, please.
Yeah.
Um, I put together three important that are things that I think are cardinal for Ambassador Boakai transitional team.
Okay.
One, the formation of a sustainable government. This
Okay.
is the time. You cannot wait until inauguration. Putting together a sustainable government that will be made up of cross section of Liberian from all of the political subdivision. You
Mhm.
know, those people who will be they will be qualified as, like I said, credible, reliable, trustworthy people, astute people, people who are professional and are expert within any field that they should be serving on. So those are things that the transitional team should focus on, not just making sure that, oh, okay, we receive what in the cover, we want to know, like being so harsh on the outgoing government. No,
Mhm.
you should be focused now on putting things in place. Another thing is creating an emergency economic and financial recovery team,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
Liberia needs to be liberated economically and financially. So Ambassador Boakai transitional team or Ambassador Boakai should begin putting together an emergency economic and financial recovery team. Let me dive into this. What do I mean? This team will be made up of professionals that will create economic and financial policies that will be presented to the president for execution and implementation with consultation from the Liberian Senate or the Liberian Parliament.
Okay.
Okay, um, this thing will ensure that the policy that will be created will conform to 21st century form of governance.
Mhm.
Because that's what Liberia needs right now. We need 21st century form of governance
Yeah.
where we will be talking about electronic form of governance, electronic
E-government.
taxation, because
E-government.
that's
E-tax. Yeah.
those are the things that we will need for Liberia in order to tackle the quote unquote terminology called corruption. Yes, people, once people are doing electronics activity in the country for government or electronic government, electronic taxation, meeting all of those needs, I can tell you for sure it may not be 100% the elimination of corruption, which is difficult. You can't eliminate corruption 100%, but it will be corruption will be minimized at a very high level,
Yeah.
you know. And another one I talk about here is creating a system. This is my exception to the to governing, most especially for our country Liberia. All right. For any nation to be successful in whatever that nation does, we should create what we call a system, a transactional system. In my definition for the term transactional system is a system that would highly be electronic and interconnected between government agency.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, if we can create a transactional system, let's say the policeman on the street, he pull a drunk driver over in Liberia,
Mhm.
or a driver who has an expired plate, or for some kind of traffic violation, or maybe a criminal or a suspect is on the run and he's been pulled over.
Uh-huh.
You want his driver license.
Right.
You want his driver license. That is a transactional system because when you put his driver license in, it pops up. It
Mhm.
shows it. That means you have internet within a police vehicle and stuff like that. You got it. It's set up. If somebody goes to the hospital, you ask for the person's social security. And that one thing I wrote, and I'm about to send it by FedEx to Ambassador Boakai. We need to revitalize the Social Security Administration.
Mhm.
I have strategized, I put together a plan wherein each and every Liberian can obtain a unique social security number and a social security card. It's very simple. I
Mhm.
put that together already. It's simple. All right. So if somebody goes to the hospital, you put a person social security number, the last four or last five or six, it pops up. In other governmental agency database
Right.
because it's an interconnected system. Liberia needs an interconnected electronic system. It will work for our country. It's not difficult. It's easy. It might have some rigmarole, but we can make it. We can make it happen. It's
Perfect.
easy to be done. Yeah.
Perfect.
For me, you ask me for my expertise, I would do it. I don't need to go where I stay right here. I get a job done for them. It's
Perfect.
easy. You know.
Perfect.
So those are
So
3 points that I expect right now from the transitional team and that of Ambassador Boakai when he takes office. It ain't got to be the first 100 days. This thing, not 365 days,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a I believe, this is uh a a party or administration that talks about, I think one of their biggest uh campaign slogan was, fight corruption, fight corruption, fight corruption. Now, do you guys believe they should declare their assets as well? That's one. Do you think if we really want to be transparent about, because I think one of the other things they keep talking about here is that audit, 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 and I have my whole squamp about why I don't even think you're supposed to tell me that you're going to audit me before you audit me. You come in there,
No,
you tell me that you're going to audit me. You haven't taken power yet. You're telling me you're going to audit me. I have a month and a half before you come to take power. What do you think I'm going to do?
I was confiscated.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I will do as much
Anything.
within that month and a half to
Yeah.
hide any traces that you could come in and trace before you didn't even supposed to tell me that you're going to audit me. It should just be
You
something
know,
that right? But
first
anyway,
of
that's
all,
my swamp.
let me
That's
comment on that. Can I?
yeah.
Uh,
Let me. I have a follow up question for you,
mhm.
for all of you, right? So they said they're going to audit. They talk about corruption. They talk about corruption as fighting corruption, right? Assets have yet to be declared. right? We've talked about, I think I keep saying this thing, the former Minister of Finance talk about debt that were owed, yet nobody have made public yet what's in the consolidated accounts, which is meaning what means, I don't know if they even have access to that yet. So I could be wrong. You guys can hold me to that, right? I believe it should be revealed once they take over how much was in the consolidated account. I believe each and every one of them should, declare their assets, right? And as a, as an administration that is coming to power on the corruption they want to minimize and curb corruption, there should be a salary transparency in terms of the ministers at the top level. Even up to the deputy ministers, there should be salary transparency. So if Jimmy is appointing me as Minister of Finance or Agriculture or whatever it is, right? The public should be, not because the previous administration didn't do it, but the fact that you are coming in on this whole idea of curbing corruption, you should be transparent. So reveal my salary to the people, right? In addition to me declaring my salary and everybody else, let my salary be public so everybody knows it. I hope, I hope they do that. Also, for us to be able to assess their ability, their efforts during their administration, they should be able to tell us how much unfinished road they are taking over. Because we have this thing where the previous administration come over to say, "Oh, we were building that road. This administration built that road." No, if you want to be transparent, say these are the kilometers of roads that were left unfinished, and these are the ones that were finished. So this is where we're starting from. So if I am here now, or any other opposition person coming to attack to say, "Hey, not just attack, but hold you accountable," they know exactly you already put these things out there. To say this is where we left off. This is what was in the account, the consolidated account. Matter of fact, we declared our assets. Not only did we declare our assets, we also made our salary transparent, so you know what each minister is getting, paid, right? So for me, these are just the basic things that you know uh I hope they're able to do. If you really want to be transparent with the Liberian people, not just the bad things, what we keep seeing, we owe this, we owe that, we're here, but on the good things as well, in terms of um, uh, holding themselves kind of accountable, but also allowing the public to hold them accountable as well. You wanted to come in. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You're talking about audit.
Right.
I would say in a clear term, it is very unprofessional for you to inform your opponent whom you supposed to be auditing, telling him in his face or her in her face, you're going to be audited. Let it get it straight. The transitional team or Boakai's team don't come to office with grudge and malice. Don't do it. Because when you come in like that, you will be biased in whatever decision you're about to take. You need to do your job according to the book. Do it according to the Constitution. Do it as laws and policy mandate you to do it. You cannot inform the outgoing government officials, "We're going to order you." That's the song they'll be singing around on the internet. "We're going to order you." If you do that, remember, the man still have a month and a half to be in office.
Mhm.
He has in his purview to do whatever he wants to do to confiscate it from you. People shouldn't be informing anybody. And at this point, audit is good. To audit is good because audit creates accountability. It tells you where you fall. And let the Liberian people get this clear. Audit does not mean that somebody is criminal or somebody stole. Audit is about accountability. And within that process of accountability, if it is established that an individual or a government official embezzle government resources or public resources for his own selfish greed or for any other purpose, so that is not legitimate, then that's the time you conduct prosecution. But audit is doesn't mean that somebody stole. Audit is creating accountability, is to establish accountability. That's the reason why it is important, it is significant that government officials or public officials declare their assets. Because when you declare your assets, you are creating trust for the people. And let Boakai thing get this, let Ambassador Boakai get this clear. People declaring their assets not just all to it. You should create a robust team in your office. Yeah. Like what we have here, the Office of Inspector General. The Office of Inspector General will be on the feet of those people, making sure that every political appointee or public official or government employee will be held accountable. Eyes will be on everybody, making sure you are doing your job in accordance to the expectation of the president and the expectation of the Liberian people.
Okay.
So,
Jimmy, any
yeah.
follow up?
Yeah, I heard Kesali talk about transactions. You know, they leadership can also be characterized as transactional or transformational. Transaction leaders, they just make sure things are running smoothly. Why transformational leaders, they're looking toward the future. So when Amara Kone said people have to manage their expectations, actually they are the ones supposed to be doing the managing of the expectations of people, because right now people have high expectations.
Mhm.
So by you coming and saying manage, no, you give them an idea of what to expect. And when you give them an idea what to expect, then you are helping manage their expectations. So in other words, but Amara, it seems like he's speaking more like he's from the executive branch of the government, not from the legislative. So I guess he would be playing a dual role. But this is the sort of thing, those are the sort of things you want to hear from the standard bearer. But I guess at this point, since he hasn't taken over yet, he's probably waiting. But yes, there's going to be a lot of changes to put in, and you're going to have to tell the Liberian people, communicate with the Liberian people what your plans are,
Mhm.
how long it may take, what to expect, what to change. Then you're going to be managing their expectations. So it's there's a lot of work to do just in communication, and then there's also work in physical, actual work to be done. You know, I would love to hear what they're going to do, hitting the ground running, because a lot of things we can do and change, make life better for ourselves by just what we do. If you go to any village, for instance, Kata,
Yeah.
you always see the villages clean. Don't you notice that?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
The village, but
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
city? Why is the city like that? In other words, Liberians are not. Clean people, but the city looking like that. So what we have to do? We have to have a way that we citizens of Monrovia, we clean the city. We make our contribution toward the cleanliness of the city. And if we can't do it ourselves, we there's other things we can do. But why I'm bringing this up is
Yeah.
because a lot of things we will have to be very innovative. Not
Yeah.
everything requires money. Many projects that we can undertake will just be community projects. You have to spur communities to do things for themselves. We don't have the country itself doesn't have a whole lot of money. We're not an oil rich company or mineral rich company. We have some, but if you don't want everybody to depend on the government doing something for you, if the government ain't built up public toilets, so you defecate anywhere. No, we have to get communities involved in taking responsibility
Mhm.
for their own community and well-being, and because you know money is not everywhere, so a lot of things we can do for ourselves. So if there's I think what these guys need to do, they need to communicate the messages very well to Liberian people so that they are encouraged by what they hear. And that was one of the
Yeah,
criticism of the previous administration. There was not enough communication going on from the head of state
yeah,
to the people, because when you talk to people,
perfect.
even if the conditions are not what is expected, they will try to understand. So it's how you handle your messaging to people is very keen on. It's very influential on the success of your whole administration. So I would like to the people who, and that's another fact. You made the people made this. We have a whole ministry of information, but how busy were they? How good were they managing people expectations? Because with social media, there's all kinds of rumors going around. People persuade people to believe otherwise.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're going to have to have strong messaging
yeah,
to have the people get on board with the plan and feel content of what you're doing every day.
yeah. So
It's great.
I
Yep.
I on the I think you mentioned something that I want to add on to, and I think I said it somewhere before. Uh, it, when you play chess, the whole strategy of chess is you're not just playing because you know if I move a piece here, that's the most important place I want to move a piece to, counter this opponent. But you also evaluate your opponent's moves as well. And for me, I think the role that Amar is playing, he's probably going to be the de facto person running the country. I'm just saying that as I see it. Either that or he's going to be probably the de facto VP of the country because of how influential he was in the runoff and how he asserted himself so far since the end of the election. So I think he's the most assertive person in the campaign. I mean, this transition team and even probably the whole administration so far. So I think for me, he's going to be the person running the country, believe it or not. And the reason why I
Oh,
said it, there,
Amara.
I think Irma is
You
going to
know,
be the person running the country,
uh,
and it might be a little bit too harsh, and that's because of, we know the health of the old man. He's not going to be in the public as you see. I don't think we're going to see him as much. Um, the the VP doesn't have much experience. I think he was just picked on him being in the vote rich place. So I think if you look at everything, you put all of those factors together, you can see why and how Amara will be the most important person in this government going forward. And you don't take my word for it. We can
no,
revisit this
you know,
conversation another time and come back to it.
you
But
know, you are right, Gabriel. You are very very right. You are right on that. You know, I sat down a couple of days ago and I began to evaluate Amara Coney. The way I see Amara Coney, he's a promising man for this new administration. He's a very promising man for the administration. Based on his experience with the Ellen-led government and his experience on the international scene, he's a smart guy, very, very smart. So he will be in the Senate, but he will be working in the back end to ensure that things go right. That's how I see him. Yeah, he's a very smart guy, so he'll be in the back end, making sure that things go right. He's smart. He did great during the or the runoff, putting all the mechanisms together to ensure that they come out victoriously. He did great. He's smart. In this new administration, man, he's one of the smartest men that Boakai has on his side. He's very smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, let's hopefully we have enough time here. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's jump into the next question here.
The budget.
What should we, given, I think we talked about this, and this is why this is a part two. We talked about this question the last time we were here last Saturday. What should be expected from a Boakai budget, given what they have seen uh, the previous administration has been doing, the last 6 years. There's been budget shortfall after budget shortfall. There's been less focus on public investments, right? It's heavily, when I mean the current budget as we have it, which is from the previous government now, is heavily on spent on expenditures. What should be expected from a Boycott administration budget to make it a lot different from the previous administration? Uh,
Coming. Okay.
yeah.
Um, you know, budget is something that every institution, whether public, private, government, everybody needs a budget to run on. Uh, but what makes a budget to be effective or more effective is the way we apportion the budget, the way we manage the budget.
Hmm.
So, in clear term, uh, I haven't seen in my life where I see Liberia to have what we call in economics we call the equilibrium budget. Liberia, I'm not seeing it having an equilibrium budget. You realize that when Liberia put out the budget, you have money going to some agency that has no business going there.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is being wasteful. So my expectation for Boakai administration is for him having an equilibrium budget and a non-wasteful budget.
Hmm.
Yes, the
Okay.
budget should be able to impact all level of society,
Hmm.
all level of society. The budget should seek the welfare of the people. It may not go in their hands directly,
Right.
but programs should be established within for the budget. There should be programs that will affect the life of the people in a positive way, that will
Yeah.
create change. Don't make budget to go in the pocket of government officials. Don't make budget vocal the booker's budget, where they tell you say, oh, the budget is for this. Don't write it on paper. You put the budget on paper because I'm telling you, accountants, financial experts, those bad ones, when they create budget, they will put on the paper and tell you say it's for this purpose.
Hmm.
But deep down, it's a booger budget, it's a wasteful budget. They're doing it just for their own interest. And that's what's been going on in Liberia. So even when it comes to auditing those guys, they'll show you the piece of paper and say, hey, this is what we use the money for.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
there. It was approved by the Senate. It was approved by the House of Representatives. This is what we did with the budget. Something that already been approved by the legislature. Are you going to come prosecute the people for it? No. So
Yeah.
the budget should be an equilibrium budget and a non-wasteful budget. And when
Okay.
it goes to the Senate, that's why I told people then, don't focus your mind on the presidency. Focus your mind on the parliament. If you elect credible people to parliament, you will have a credible government.
Yeah.
Because remember, the House of Representatives, House of Senate, or what we call the legislature, they are the first branch of government. Those people are considered the first people in government. The legislature is the first branch of government.
Hmm.
They are responsible for check and balances on the judiciary and the executive. So if you elect credible people, man, you will have a credible government, a
Yeah.
respectable government. You can see in America, You see speaker and representative flying to go Israel because why? They are credible people that the people trust and believe in. So even when a book of budget comes to them on the floor, they will look at it, they will send it back.
Yeah.
They will send it back.
Yeah.
But previous government, any budget account, they take it, they sign off on it, they get it active, everybody go. Now,
Yeah.
when next government comes and you want to audit the people, what are you auditing them for?
Correct.
What are you auditing? Because this is something we talk to your legislature. They sign off on it, they approve the budget, it took effect. So you
Yeah.
got nothing to do. That would just be
Jimmy.
one single and simple defense
Yeah.
the whole audit the people want to do.
Perfect.
So my view is Ambassador Boakai and his team, his government should have a budget of equilibrium, a budget that will be balanced. In simple terms, a budget that will be balanced, that will fit the Liberian society, that will fit our economy, that will have effect on the masses, a budget that will serve the social spectrum of the Liberian people.
Perfect.
That budget
Thank you.
should be a non-wasteful budget. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jimmy, same question to you. Given what we've seen so far in this previous administration, what do you think? What should we expect from a Buckeye budget? This is, and the reason why we talked about this question because we, if I'll use this analogy again, or interview for a job, you got the job, you ask the question, hey, how good was the last person in this role? How well did they do? What were some of the things you liked about them? And what are some of the things and the interview or the manager tells you, hey, this person was not good at such and such and such. So we need somebody to come in and do such and such and such, or be better at such and such and such. In our case, we can use the budget as an example. Every time it was put out, that was it was recast probably within 6 or 5 months later. That means that was for a deficit, right? What should we expect from this administration budget? Like in terms of, as I said before, the previous budget has been, I think, probably 60 or 70% of it is spent on recurring expenditure. So usually that leaves, I think, probably 10% or even less on investments and other things that are supposed to tangibly uh, benefit the population. So pretty much we're just collecting money, people pay us money, and spending all of that. So what would you expect from this budget to you
Hmm.
know have some kind of deviation from what we had before?
Well, first I want to ask Kesali, what do you call equilibrium budget? I've never heard that, um, and I was kind of
On
confused about it.
Yeah, an
Yeah.
equilibrium budget is a budget that will be balanced. It will have a balanced effect.
Between balance between what?
A balanced effect. An equilibrium budget is a budget that has a balanced effect within a society, within all spectrum of government, all spectrum of society, that it will have equal effect on the people. Because the reason why budgets or governmental budgets are created is for the impartation on the people's life. But if you create a budget that will have no impact on the life of the people, on the life of the Liberian people, that budget is not an equilibrium budget. That's what I mean when I say an equilibrium budget. An equilibrium budget, again, is a budget that is non-wasteful. No. You're not going to
Jimmy,
send more money to an entity that that money is more than what the entity needs. And then you have other entities with smaller budget. They have to be managing on it, and people not getting paid on time because the budget for them is very low. It's a minimum, while other people on the budget is high. So in order to have a more functional government, when it comes to the budget should be at an equilibrium level. Yeah, it should be balanced.
so Jimmy, maybe we can pivot to another. Uh, Unless you had a
No, well, there's constraints. There are always going to be priorities. I
right.
think your budget has to first be set according to what your priorities are. right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So that's one of the first things you have to do. The method that Liberians you've been employing to develop a budget is they allow every ministry to submit what they need for the next year. Okay, and with that, they put all the requests and the requirements of these ministries and agencies and comprise it into a budget, add on to it what they see fit for national projects and legislatures agendas and other things, and then submit the budget. It's almost what we call maybe a bottoms up budget.
Mhm.
But I think I like your question, honestly.
Mhm.
Because like I said, this administration will have to think out of the box. They're going to have to do something very different.
Yep.
And to do that, you may want to have to look at it from top down. In other words, what not have the ministries give you what they need, but first you set a goal in front of them. Okay, after setting a goal in front of everybody, then you have them come up with a budget. Okay, because if you do it that way, then you know that you've already set the goal and what they're supposed to achieve. Then they have to develop how the objectives, how they're going to achieve those goals. So then they can modify their budget to meet your project plans, your goals, and achieve them. But to simply just allow them just to submit what their requirements are without any guidance as to what they need to achieve that year, I don't think that's the smartest way of doing it. But I haven't I haven't worked for government, but that is how what I would do. I would first tell everybody, look, these are the things, education, healthcare, all the things, these are the things I want to achieve this year. And I want you to work your budget around it. Then second of all, there's some things that you cannot shake. For instance, debt servicing. We are required to pay off our loans on time whenever they're due.
Mhm.
Right now, we see um, Liberia has gotten in some dire straits because they've failed to make some payments
Mhm.
on their debts. So they suspended access to those monies
Mhm.
until we can come current. Okay, so you is the some of these things will be in budget items that you can't escape. You will have to meet. But
So,
so that is one of the reasons I'm saying you know you have to set your the your goals for the year,
right.
what you're trying to achieve, and then have the ministries revamp their budgets to try to meet those goals because there's
So,
so many things to do
so
and
what do
you
you
don't have the
think?
finances.
What do you think their priority? What do you guys think their priority should be? And the reason why I'd like to ask this question is no more excuse that they put you in a place, you know, and you don't know what to do or you don't know what your priorities are. You had 6 years. That's enough time to get a PhD if you're even getting a PhD. PhD takes 5 years, right? You have 6 years to assess every economic situation in our country. Every mistake the previous government was making to assess that, to be able to understand that. Once you have that understanding, it should now be able to help you set your priorities that, okay, I see the mistake that this administration is making. I see what the needs of the Liberian people are. Now that I'm here, you should already have your priorities set. What do you think their priorities should be? Granted that they are in the position now to effect change in our country on every level. What do you
Yeah,
think their priorities should be?
I think Emmanuel Jackson is hitting one of the points on the nail right here. He says, while balancing debits and credits, equilibrium budget, putting more money in the market economy, and that is this. We have to develop the market economy. And why is it essential that we develop the market economy? Because the market economy will provide jobs to people. When you build that market economy up, you immediately relieve some stress over the lack of jobs. You relieve some financial constraints over people who can't earn a living. You immediately begin to facilitate the entire country feeling some economic relief. I think that is so crucial. What Jackson is talking about. If you Because that will have a ricochet or reverberating effect on every all parts of the company and people of the country and people. But you have to do it strategically because it has to work. You have to do it in a way. You have to get results. You have to. I think another thing this administration should do. They have to be results orientated. We're not going to do something like Kessely was saying because put it on paper. No,
Mhm.
that's not what that's not what we want. We want results.
More
We don't
result,
want it
right?
on paper. We want the results of what we're doing. And so definitely one of the main considerations because of its collateral effect on the entire country, focus on that a market economy, growing your market economy, which means growing your private sector.
Mhm.
Focus on that, and that will help relieve all kinds of other problems. That is how I look at it too. That should be the one. Yeah, you need healthcare. You
Yeah.
need education. I believe very strongly in human capacity development. I don't think Liberia can move one step until we start investing in our people and all of that. But if you invest in the market economy, it has a way of taking care of itself. Because when people want to employ people and give people more jobs, they have to train people. And when they start training people, they learn, they develop capacity. So yeah, that is a big winner there. Now, who's going to be in charge of doing something that way? Because that requires unique skills. That required because it's a private sector. And a lot of people who've been in the government sector may not even know anything about infusing money in the market economy in such a way to promote growth and development.
Yeah.
So that is some that is most important area. I think that's a key area, a strategic area that would generate a lot of relief in the country.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now that you guys have maybe tangent into this, let's maybe just go on a tangent a little bit into this. Do you guys think that anyone understand the importance of now? I don't want to post the sole blame, the responsibility or the onus on this current the incoming administration that of that expectation on them. Do you guys think any time in the history of Liberia that any band, even let's say not just going to history from the first alien administration, the we administration to the incoming administration, do you guys think anybody in those previous administration or the incoming administration has any idea of what a market economy is and how it can help transform a country? Do you think any of them have any idea on that? And the reason
Well,
why I ask that because I think we have expectations, but I would say that we are as good as our weakest link. Any group is as good as its weakest link, meaning that in a country, the country that we have, we are as good as the least illiterate person in our country. So yes, there might be a few people who might have these a lot, you know, transformative idea, but we're as good as the least illiterate person in there. And the reason why I say this is because I don't think we have these level of expectation from the government, but I don't think any one of them, any administration so far, the last three that have followed, right, have any idea what a market economy is. Do you think, do you, maybe you guys can point me anywhere in history, do
Well,
you think anyone understand what a market economy is
well,
and how
uh,
transformative that can be?
let me say this. Well, I think I will say I believe because this is it. They might know about market economy, but fail to implement it. But I haven't seen uh, any of those guys that say, "Oh, they into market economy," I didn't know it. But my belief, my guess is there are people there who know about market economy, but because we're not seeing the implementation, so we might think like they don't know about it. So I'm not going to judge them and say, "Hey, they don't know it." So I leave it as it is when it comes to that. But my focus about market economy is a good thing because when you put money on the market, it create it creates an avenue for investment. And when investment takes place, it creates employment. And when employment is created, it creates self-reliance.
So
It creates
how,
independence.
if they're not doing something, what make you think they know it? If you said the idea is there, they know the idea. If they are
No,
not
I'm
doing it, what make,
saying
right? How can
I
we
don't I
assess
don't
that they know it
know.
or not?
My point is I believe that there are guys there who know about market economy. They might have
Right.
learned it in school, but they fail to implement it.
From a
Sometimes why?
theoretical standpoint,
Say it again.
they may have learned it from a theoretical standpoint, but from a
Ye-
practical standpoint, you don't.
No,
I don't.
it
No. Okay.
is not there. It's not
Right.
there from the practical standpoint.
Right.
Sometimes the reason it's not there from the practical standpoint based on their own personal selfish interest, not putting the country first. But if they were putting the country first, then we wouldn't be where we are now. Because market economy is very, very good. Because like I said, when you put money on the market, it goes into the right hands, and people begin to invest. Investment will create opportunity. Opportunity will create jobs, and job will create self-reliance and independence. And when the people become independent, they will government become less pressure.
Right.
When people have jobs, they can provide what we call livable wage or livable income. At the end of the day, the pressure on the government will be less. Even though we're not talking about the we-led government, I think I was telling on the phone. I said some of the reason why Judge we have failed was because his government did not prioritize uh, creating livable wage or livable income for the people. And anytime people or the citizens are not having livable wage or livable income, your government will be pressure. And when your government be pressure, you go back to the ballot box, the people will deny you.
Yeah.
They will deny you.
So
So
yeah. All right. So let's maybe move on to the next topic here. I mean the next, yeah, point here. What, since we're on this,
thank you.
what fiscal policy, I know there are two aspects. There's the fiscal side, there's the monetary side. We'll get to the monetary side as well. What fiscal policies, should be undertaken to boost revenue, to grow the budget, um, from your perspectives, from you guys' perspective, what fiscal, as I said, you cannot sit on the sideline for 6 years and still don't have any ideas of what you want to do fiscally, what you would like to do monetarily to be able to effect change or even grow your budget or even take it to, uh, do the things that you say you will want to do. You cannot sit on the sideline for 6 years, study something for 6 years, and say you don't have no plan. So, from your perspective, what are some of the things, from a fiscal aspect of it, do you think should be undertaken to grow the revenue because we have been at the 600 mark for I don't know how long. And the reason why I say the 600 mark, 150 million of it comes from outside. So that's not something that's, I think Jimmy talked about production. That's not something that's generated from, production activities within the country. So that's,
Yeah.
one third of it, right? So what can we do from a fiscal aspect? What adjustment do you think we can make from a policy side to grow that revenue and be able to
Okay.
do what they're supposed to do?
Let me say this,
Maybe
Gabriel.
take 2 minutes
Okay,
to
great.
and then we
Let me
can go,
say
right?
this, right? It might sound strange, but one thing that we overlook in Liberia is job creation. When you create jobs and people are being employed, it creates revenue for the government. How and why? How is how here is people will pay taxes.
Uh-huh.
People will pay taxes,
Uh-huh.
and the taxes will go into government cover, and that will create revenue for the government. That's
Hmm.
one major thing. Once you create jobs for the people are gonna pay taxes to the government. You see here, right? Every month you get paid, your tax come out.
There's a
What?
multiplied effect, right?
Yes. Where
Right.
does it go? It goes into what? The federal government revenue. It goes into the state, the city. Everybody have their share, and those same revenue. Are you guys there? Those same, those same
I'm
revenue.
here.
Okay,
I don't
great.
know what happened to Gabriel.
Yeah. Those same revenue
I'm here too.
come back. It comes back into our society. It comes back into the city for development. It comes back to the country for development. So if we even have debts out there on the international scene, because we create jobs and people are paying their taxes, their fair share of the taxes, it creates revenue. So that's one of aspect that I think that can create great revenue for our nation as a nation that came from war and then we kind of striving to develop. That's one thing. So from my point, I think Ambassador Barker and his team will need to focus on job creation in order to boost revenue. Yeah.
We got Depu to join, right? Depu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Depu, welcome.
Yes.
You've been, MIA for a long time. Good to have you
Yes.
research.
Don't
I,
go there. Let's go with the
I,
show.
I've
No,
been
wait. Let me make my
Thanksgiving.
point with the man. Don't cut part us. No, I'm not done with you. Yeah, you've been MIA for a long time, so it's good to have you back. Hopefully, I don't know if you're in the background following us. There's a lot
Oh,
of
you
things
brought
we've
him
talked
on?
about.
Yes,
Yeah. He's in the
yes.
back, but I think he's only on audio, right? So
I've been
welcome to the show.
following.
Welcome to the show. What is you want to, everything we've talked about so far? Do you have any comment on that before you go on to the next question here that we're asking, proposing?
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Jimmy, and the other panelists. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I've been away for some time, but today since
My
I'm
man, they're
home,
calling you back home for your position.
I was sitting down. I was sitting down and I saw the message. I said, no, let me just since I'm home today, let me just come on and say one or two things. But I actually logged in when you guys were discussing market economy.
Right.
And realistically, to say that Liberia does not have a market economy is going to be like understatement. The only thing I can say is that uh, there's what I would consider a mixed economy in most countries nowadays. So we have market that can be government intervention at certain point, and the government of Liberia have done extremely well in terms of not controlling. If you look at the monetary system, what everything that had to do with the exchange rate and everything, nothing is
Yeah,
controlled.
but let me
Uh,
stop you one more minute, Depo, so you can really speak to this thing because we're glad you're here. The question really was looking at the Boakai budget. What
yes.
what would you recommend that they how they reform their budget? And the comment came from Emmanuel Jackson. He said investing in the market economy.
Okay.
That
Yes,
is
that
where the point. It's not. It wasn't over whether the type of government, whether it's socialist market or laissez-faire, all that kind of thing. It
uh,
was where would you, given your limited budget, your limited resources, how would you
Deploy
prepare
resources.
your budget? How would you, yeah, how would you employ your budget to stimulate income for the incoming administration? That's the
that
question.
that's a good one. I can respond to that and add it to the current issue or the fiscal issue. Realistically, I know that. Uh, First of all, I want to congratulate the president elect and the vice president elect for the opportunity given them to serve Liberian people. And I know now that this election, my take on it is that Liberians should not be underestimated when it comes to their perception about leadership and performance. So the consciousness of the citizenship should be something that every leader, whether political leader, a business or religious leader, should be aware now that you cannot just take the people for a ride. So
Well,
that is the challenge you have on now. Now, when
Mhm.
it comes to the issue of the budget, what is very much key at this time is that there's a need for fiscal discipline. And these are some of the hard questions, the tough questions that will be asked. How will you manage to really instill fiscal discipline as we go into the new administration? First thing is that the budget, I know the 800 million budget is achievable. What is very much important that Mr. Boakai and his team will be taking into consideration is that where there will be some tightening in terms of budgetary expenditure, and realistically, what was done during the HIPIC completion point for Liberia, we are almost there. So I'm going to be quite sure the first thing that will be taken into consideration is that the people are going to be doing cash-based budgeting. What you receive is what you will spend. They're not going to go beyond going extra mile and to waste resources. And that itself is one good decision to be made soon. And realistically, there are other resources that government uncollectible revenue that are still pending, and government need to go after these things to ensure that they balance whatever resources budget that is there. The second thing that is important beside the fiscal discipline, the as per the budgetary tightening that need to be taken into consideration there is that there is something that during the Weah administration that brought trouble. In fact, that one of the issues that carried Weah himself is the wage bill. Now, you have to now look at the wage bill very carefully in terms of the employment and how you manage it. So public sector employment is something that raise expectation but low performance. Therefore, government will need to consider what are some of the areas that will require employment and some of the areas that will require some fiscal measure to say, you know what, we're not employing people right now. And then they have to review the wage bill. And review the wage bill, it should be something that will be incentivized by performance, and besides being incentivized by performance, they should be looking at, you know, individual capacity to generate revenue. There where we are going to be considering the public sector, the public corporation performance. These public corporations are actually supposed to be increasing government revenue instead of them becoming a liability in government. So I would also suggest that it should be based on performance based for the public corporation for LTA, LTC, LPRC, NPA. The rest of them should not be leaning more or relying on government revenue. And like that, they can be increasing opportunity for employment and productivity in the economy. These
Perfect.
are some of the few things I can touch right now. But
Yeah.
now let's go to the fiscal side of it.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the fiscal challenge that this government currently face, you guys were discussing. I know people will say, why quick decision? One of the easier things that they can do right now, whatever they call continuum, what tax that they put on continuum that also restricting imports. A country economy that is import dependent, you can create hurdle for them. We can remove that immediately. That that will give way for trade boom and other things. That itself is something that can need to be considered. Beside the continuum payment that people were doing that also creating hurdle for import, you want to be considering uh some sector that are driving the economy. Let's say, for example, how can you review the taxes in the area of rubber, mining sector, and all of these places? These are areas, these are major taxpayer. Where what are some of the constraints they have? What are the challenges that are there? You review it and see how best you can bring them back into the tax nest. And if there's any outstanding, arrear or whatever revenue they have already paid. Because as I heard, these guys are already been collecting revenue from these people ahead of time. So you need to go and review all of these entities and see what they can do.
Perfect.
Companies, big taxpayer, companies that are already left the country, and some of them are already on the wait and see attitude. You need to negotiate with them and see what are some of the concessions that you can make them to start employment. And once it start operation and start employing people, it become another source of revenue to increase it. Do you
Perfect.
have other sectors like fishery, cocoa sector, and all of these things? You have a cushion to ensure that you have opportunity for them that they can be able to start exporting. And that
Mhm.
is a require you saying, you know what, we are relaxing certain rules for export taxation and all of these things that will help them to bring in revenue and foreign exchange. These are
Okay.
some of the few things I want to just list before we continue. Thank you.
Yeah, so I have lots of maybe not pushback, but maybe I will from all of you. Maybe you guys can help a little bit of clarity on here. So you talk about the wage bill, and meaning that mean the expenditure, what we spend on, salaries and all of that in the budget. You, all of you know that bill, that budget is a law. In order for you to change anything on there, you have to pass a new law that maybe reduces the budget. I mean the wages of either the salaries of those the ministers or the deputies, all of that. That's one of the things we got to talk about. So in as much that we can say, hey, look at the wage bills, and you have to negotiate with the senators and representative to, like, it's like you giving me a bill. Say I'm bringing a bill to you, Gabriel. I need you to sign it, and that's you signing it, meaning that you're going to reduce your salary by 25% or 50%. I'm going to find it hard to do after I've been enjoying that for 6 years or the last 12 or 18 years. So that's I want something you guys to think about as well. You also talk about cutting, looking at the in a short terms is you talk about the number of people being employed, gutting the size of the government, you know, doing that too is going to be another challenge. But the biggest part I want to go to that you mentioned, which I think is going to be a challenge, and this is maybe you guys can expand on that, is the container. So the reason the container payment, what people are paying on container, I've said this the last year we talked about this. The economy that we have is strictly, and I think you mentioned that too as well, is strictly import based. Right now, there's a group that control the port, and we have one seaport in our country. So there's we, the gateway to our economy is being strangled, and we've given those people that contract since 2010 for 25 years. Are you now saying that the incoming administration is going to be able to go back to the, to those people to renegotiate that, because they have invested capital in acquiring that contract. They invested capital in building that port. They're going to want to get their returns on that. So if we are going back to them to say come back to the drawing board, because this is a very important sector of our economy, this is a gateway to our economy to renegotiate this contract. How are you going to do that? Is that what you're insisting that that's going to
Uh,
happen? Are we going to bring
okay.
them back to the drawing board? So maybe you guys can chime in on that as well,
Yeah,
all of you.
Can I
you know,
can I just sorry? Can I respond to your two questions? Then they can come up with a follow up, or you want me to wait at last?
Uh, Go ahead. Since you have the floor, go ahead.
Yes, because the first thing about this issue of the budget, I would say this is a window of opportunity, because the first thing is that in the past, the budget, the fiscal year was running from June, I mean
Mhm.
from July to June.
Right.
Unfortunately for us, it's not going to be from January to December. And that's why the Boakai administration will have to do its best to actually constitute the various sectoral sector committee on this whole transition. That they
Mhm.
can now go and review the various sector and know their performance and get a baseline data and know where to start from to be able to calibrate the budget and come up with a complete review of what had happened in the past.
Mhm.
That would be able to know how to estimate the budget for 2024. Now, meaning that the issue of budget, I think it will be a very good opportunity for them from October all the way to December. I mean, from November to December, this review can be done and be able to know what to forecast for the revenue side. When it comes to the container, you and I, let me say this to you, that the fact that you are imposing tax on the import dependent country, especially all the importers are, they also transfer that to the consumer. That's the
Correct.
problem they face in Liberia
That's why
right
we
now.
have inflection.
Good. So
Right.
they transfer that to consumer. So if these guys are given the opportunity to say, you know what, we are relaxing this and we are waiving this, and you will see more people will be importing. There will be an opportunity for us to see. You will see the freight reduction. That's why a review of this whole team will be very helpful. The freight reduction from the period this continuing tax was imposed to where we are right now, you will see that variance, and that can be utilized. The next thing that the company that is managing the port, they have a contract, and the contract require revision and also require, so from the review process they will be able to make recommendation where the lapses are, where are the challenges? Because when they do the dredging of the port, there should be enough capacity to take in more ship. The more ship you take, the more money you make. The shorter time the port spent, I mean the ship spent at the port, the more revenue you generate. So how far have the company gone in terms of dredging the port, creating dock and other things to increase to increase the revenue base? These are some of the things that are being required
Yeah, I
by the
think
economic team to review.
maybe you missed the point here. I don't think it's from a capacity standpoint, Depu. So you can have a big of a capacity the size of even that of California, or even right here in Georgia, the Savannah, or Havana, whatever you call it, port, right? It's not. It's You mentioned that too. What you are imposing on the consumer. So let's say hypothetically, I'm a shipper. You have a massive port the size of that of California, right? But I am bringing things in and you're charging me $8,000 to free a container. That's one. If I'm paying $8,000 to free a container and I have goods in those stuff, you mentioned that very well. I'm going to transfer those costs to the consumer. That's cost inflation from the cost side of things, right? And given the contract that is in place right now, it's 25 years. I think it was signed in 2010. It goes for 25 years. Are we going to negotiate with them to reduce the cost that they're charging on those containers? And if we're going to do that, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? And to what level do we think we're going to reduce that to make it attainable for businesses to be able to continue to ship in our country? Right. I think that's the part that you can even say, hey, I don't know. I think this is recommendations, because that will require renegotiating our contract. Bring calling those people back to the drawing board. Say, hey, we signed this thing for 25 years, but we now want to keep the 25 years, but maybe we're going to review it every 5 years. And if your meetings these quarter, these clauses, covenants, then we're going to renew it every 5 years. I think that's what is going. Is that what you say that's going to happen? I don't think it's about
No,
the
no,
capacity.
no. What I'm saying here is that, Gabriel, the 25 years is already a term of the contract is legally agreed upon. One of the things that there is that the performance, because they were contracted to see how best to ensure the efficiency of the port to increase output. So you have to review the period they have operated for. What are some of the deliverables that were there? You got to address the port to ensure that the port is efficient. You have enough capacity to for more ship to dock. Have you done it? If you haven't done it, when are you going to be doing it? How much revenue do you generate since you take over, and how much share that do they take? So these are some of the things that you got to review a contract in terms of the negotiation aspect of it. But to say
Right.
you're going to reduce the number of years is not possible. You negotiate for a reduction of the year. You're going to be looking at the efficiency level of the company since they took over. You want to look at your revenue flow since they took over, before and after. These are some of the things that you have to be looking at. So I think in terms of the
Okay.
economic analysis of that, it will be like, look, the cost of this contract is, let's say, example, 25 million for 25 years. But your revenue generation before you took over was, we're making $10 million, and we anticipate you raising 150 million. Are you meeting the target? If you're not meeting the target, why? These are basic things. These are some of the negotiations that need to be done, or arrangement or discussion with the companies at this time. Thank you. Let me give the colleagues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
you know,
Omo.
yeah, thank you guys. Double your name, right? Thank you, man. Thank you. You make some great points. You know, like he said, the contract is 25 years for the Port of Monrovia.
Mhm.
Um, Remember, the contract came into effect through a legitimate government,
Correct.
and our legitimate government represents the interests of the Liberian people.
Uh-huh.
What do I mean the interest? Because it went to the Senate, it went to the entire legislature, and they signed off on it. They agreed on it, and the legislature represent the people. So for another government to come back and want to uh, probably want to cancel the contract, no, you can only review the contract. You can go about to say, you know what, because the port serves as a gateway to our economy. We generate more revenue to the Freeport of Monrovia or any other port. So at the end of the day, we want to ensure that you taking over the port, you should be able to generate more resources, more revenue for us than what we used to get. If you can't do that, then we'll have to re-examine the contract because
Right.
every contract has terms and conditions.
Correct.
Yeah, it has terms and conditions. Now, some it's also the government official because these companies need to be checked on a regular basis. Because when you get them on their feet, they will do exactly what we require of them. But if we're not
Yeah.
getting them on their feet, we're not checking them, we're not ensuring that uh, the terms of the contracts are in tight, they be doing their own thing. They make the revenue for themselves.
Right.
Because you know what? They already pay all the in contract with us, they don't really care. So I ask foresee the new administration to review and evaluate all contracts and concession agreement. It should
Perfect.
be evaluated.
Yeah.
The reason of evaluation is to ensure that the true revenue that belongs to the Liberian people can come to the Liberian people. That's
Thank
why I think it should be done. And if the evaluation comes to a point that is indicated that those companies are not in line with the terms and conditions of the contract, by all means, the government has the legitimate power to say, you know what, we're gonna come to a term. You either
renegotiate. Right.
you either do the implementation part of the contract that will require of you, or we give you this stipulated time. If you cannot fulfill your obligation to the contract, we will cancel the contract.
Yeah.
You got to stand
Perfect.
firm
Yeah.
to carry on some implementation for the sake of the nation.
Yeah. Thank you. Jimmy, thoughts?
So you kind of lost me now. What specifically we want to address?
So I think Jimmy, not Jimmy, Depu kind of, you know, open up a whole, thing we're talking about. So you're talking about the port, the contract at the port. I think one of the things we all agreed is that this is the gateway to the Liberian economy. And currently, I think in his deliberation, he talked about it being, not just him. There's you talk to a lot of shipper, they will tell you the cost of shipping has become too high. And because if you know, there's two type of inflation. There's cost inflation, and then there's also what we call uh, demand pool inflation as well, right? For us right now, we're getting hit with both, right? And from the cost side, it's just, hey, if I am being charged 8,000 to clear one container, that means every good in our container, when I free it, I will make sure I add every, mark up the goods on it to be able to recoup that $8,000 and add additional markup on there to make a profit, right? So that's what is being passed down to the Liberian port.
Yeah.
And we know there is one port in our country that is the operational one. The Buchanan is not working. The one in Maryland is not working. So there's one company that controls that. And so we were talking about the contract that exists currently with that port, with that company, what the current administration should do about it. And I think Depu offers some
Yeah,
solution
I
and
think what Depo
one more
came up
info.
because you started talking about a port and how we've contracted that out, and that
Right,
could be a source of income.
right.
But what Depo was also talking about,
Hmm.
generally, he was saying the best way the government can eh, get more money for the budget is by expanding their tax base.
Correct. That's yeah.
Expanding the tax base does not necessarily mean raising taxes.
Right,
Extending the tax base could be by encouraging new industries.
right.
Encouraging new industries and new companies, entrance into market, encouraging new entrants can also increase the tax base.
Right.
And how do you do that? Sometimes you have to lose the gain by reducing your tariffs and your taxes on in certain areas, by providing tax havens or tax like duty frees and like what we did a long time ago in Torbaton, have what we call the free zone,
Right.
where companies were encouraged to come into the free zone, and for some time they would be spared the tax burdens.
Hmm.
So you do that, it creates industries, it creates jobs,
Hmm.
it allows companies to come in, and later on, then you start taxing them. So
Hmm.
um, the Freeport, what you were talking about just now, um, you know, it has it has cost has added considerable tax for in goods imported, and as such, of course, the consumer feels it more.
Hmm.
Now, I call these things, I call them low hanging fruit
Really?
because, yeah, because it's easy to increase taxes. That's the easiest thing a government can do there, but there's more innovative ways to get more revenue. Sometimes taxes will stunt growth, or constrict growth, because now companies are not willing to invest simply because they are it's expensive.
But I don't
So
think
even though you're
Depu is
gaining up
talking
front, but
about.
you
I don't think Depu is talking about increasing taxes. I don't believe so, right? I don't think
no,
that's what
but
he's
you
talking
were
No,
talking
about.
about
no.
the port taking the cost of the port. Right now, we're experiencing um, a lot of charges at the port, making goods expensive for consumers.
Right. So
And
you
one
don't.
thing to, and you were talking about one thing to do is to maybe we could take or cancel that contract.
No, I think it was Kesali that talked about canceling. I
Yeah,
said
I talk
review.
about
Right. I
in the
said
contract is
review
now.
it in a way that, in as much that the company that invested in our port did invest capital and they need to make their return on that capital. But I think Depu elaborated that perfectly to review that contract to see whether the clauses and covenants and terms in those contracts are being met. And if not, what can we do? That means if they're making enough money, then I think you have a little bit of leeway to say, hey, reduce the charges you're putting on to free a container. That means you're reducing the cost that will translate to the consumer as well to make things less expensive, because that is the gateway to the economy, but not to increase taxes on it. If we already have a cost inflation on our end, so if you do increase costs or taxes at the port, is going to be even worse. So we're talking about reviewing that contract, not increasing it.
Definitely. I have heard all kinds of horror stories about that whole arrangement.
Right.
And yes, I would set up that, and because it's the main gateway to Liberia, I would set up a whole committee and bring experts like guys like Depu them, and bring them and evaluate that contract if it's really in our interest.
Mhm.
You know, not just because, tell you the truth, when I used to think that we were bleeding at the port. We were losing a lot of revenue because of the things that were going on at the port. But they have brought regularity to the port. And it looked like it was under much tighter control right now.
Mhm.
But with that, what did they give away? Like you said, we are they obliging by have they gotten their money? Who pays for the dredging of the free pool? Because that's one of the most expensive yearly operations, where to drag that the free port every year. Who pays? Is that in their contract, or is it does it come out of our share? So yeah, definitely that will be one of the places to look to see if you're getting the best deal. You know,
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. That place is it's a gold mine, and but you have to know how you need really good experts to evaluate the best way of doing business over there.
Okay. So I know we're pressed for time, but I think we should maybe go to the comment. Depo, do you have any more follow up comments you'd like to make before we jump into? I know you came in late. Before we jump into the comments.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
What I want to say, just in terms of the revenue generation, let us see that two things they put the contract they put there are two things. The APN terminal contract is something that I'm talking about review and negotiation. But
Hmm.
Mhm.
where the government came out with a new tax they call CTN, continuous tracking number, that tax is what disturbing or distorting revenue generation as well. So that
Hmm.
one is just something that it was not entered into law. You can just executive order, but you can just take it out without any further legislative enactment of that law.
Hmm.
Now, in terms of this fiscal issue, there's something that just quite recently, and I was discussing with a colleague of mine. There's a room for the incoming government to to renegotiate and expand the tax base for some of these entities. But here is one of the things that is still something that they will call
Sticky.
it lion. The sticky issue
Yeah.
is where the transparency and accountability in revenue generation is
Uh-huh.
where the leakage is
Mm.
in the economy. How to actually close the leakage is one thing that this government need to follow. In fact, just a couple of days ago, a colleague of mine who worked at LRA was discussing because he's been with this. There's a pilot project on revenue tax collection, real estate tax base.
Hmm.
So the pilot project with Magibi County, and there's a pilot that's supposed to be with Magibi, Bassa, Bon, and Nima.
Hmm.
But what is happening there now is that the tax collectors are colluding with taxpayer to
Wow.
distort in fact, first of all, understating property value so that they can pay less, and overstating property value for some investment purpose and all of these things. These are some of the things that the incoming government need to now look at and see how can we tackle this corruption. How can we look at it? Because the citizens will build confidence in the government if they are tracking down even collectors who are, exploiting them. These
Hmm.
are things that need to be. These are things that the government need to be looking at clearly. In all
Yeah.
fairness, if the people who are giving real estate tax are being cheated or dishonestly evading taxes already, and there's no action, that obviously is gonna continue. They just one county they dealing with right now. If you go beyond Bastard got enough. And I will tell you clearly that that's a huge revenue base, real
Hmm.
estate. And
Yeah.
people will pay. If the tax rate is minimum, it
Yeah.
also help. I
Yeah.
remember during the Madam Sali administration, the rate was actually 2%. And she said, what? This money is small. But the 50 that other people were paying for their property, some people were refusing to pay because they are not used to that. All
Yeah.
you need to do now is to expand that, do a community engagement approach, see the local economy, and say since the pilot project is a certain share of that revenue collected, real estate will go to the county. You
Hmm.
institute that and make sure that the revenue generator is transparently dispersed to the county to have it with them. So you got 25%, for example, you got 25% revenue from the real estate in most of Colorado County is given to the county for development.
Hmm.
These are things, these are the fiscal decentralization policy, things that will help the incoming government to raise revenue. And these are
Yeah.
opportunity, much more things that we can talk beside this one. Thank you.
Yeah. Great, 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 great. I just want to maybe expand on one of the things you talk about, the property. We have actually a separate show on that maybe later on during the, maybe sometime at the beginning of the year or something, on the real estate industry in Liberia. And one of the things that you had talked about is one of the topic that we have in that show, which is how do you, the assessing of the valuation of property, assessment and evaluation of property value, right? How, if that is coming from the government and it's not credible, how can somebody now, how will that cannot encourage people to build, because you build a property, you're paying taxes on it. There's, we should be able to trust if the government is the one that is doing the assessment and evaluation. We should be able to trust their judgment. That if the government say I built this property and is worth maybe 400,000 or 500,000, I know that is, you know, I can take that anywhere to, in a country to a bank to say, hey, the government assessed it to be such and such amount. So if they can get that right and people are being able to trust that system, it can, like you said, it can create a lot of revenue within the country. But because people will not be afraid to build, even though they might be paying taxes, but they know that the assessment and evaluation that comes from the government is being, people trust it. Banks will trust it. If I take the property to a bank to say I need to borrow against the collateral, I mean the value of this property, they will trust it given that, hey, this the government assessed it for such and such amount. So I do agree with that, but we have a separate show on that, and we're going to talk about that. For the sake of time, I know we're literally went over the time here, so maybe we should go to the comments, and you guys can, after that, we can give our closing comments and wrap up here. Um, uh, Sounds fair?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, how do I even start? Uh, okay. So hopefully I can pick some good comments here. Um, Mr. Flomo, I know this is your first time on our show. Let me bring this comment here. Okay. I don't know if this is a good one. This is from Emmanuel. He said, um, the best new deal for Liberia, creating a modern market economy, as Jimmy said. It's not loans, but the transfer of 21st century technologies to harness fast-paced growth for job creation. Um, uh, huh. Okay. Uh, don't pay attention to that one. Don't pay attention to that one. And then he said, as exactly this other thing simply taking inventory of what the incoming government is inheriting. I think this is when we talked about the audit. Um, Let me. I don't know if I can find something here that you guys can respond to. Ooh, I don't want to take us back to this market economy thing where he said,
Yeah,
"Mo-
there's something on the advanced tax. It's
where
very
is that?
much important.
From
From
who? From who?
Emmanuel Jackson, it said QA under CDC collected revenue in advance from
This
major
one?
investors in the country.
Okay, so he says CDC government, the government of Liberia under CDC collected revenues in advance from major investors in the country. This will seriously affect taxes and revenue generation. What are your thoughts on that, Deputy? You brought that up.
Yes, I actually mentioned that. I heard it from some of my former students that also mentioned that. Yeah, it's a serious challenge, and these are things that require negotiation and discussion with those investors. In the first place, you want to be investor friendly, and at the same time, you want to be looking at how you do compliance and prudence in your tax collection. So if they are doing advanced collection from certain entities, depending on the sector you're in, you can definitely
Hmm.
let them operate. But you have other area that you can incentivize so you can get taxes. Meaning that if they are giving advanced taxes for which they will not be paying taxes, you can look at it. You can
Hmm.
review their agreement to see if there's possible area in terms of investment or human resource capacity. Let's say for example, Golden Verenium supposed to
Hmm.
employ Liberians supposed to be there, and you still have foreigner in the management. You can employ Liberians there, and that is will bring in domestic tax increment, and they can do. You can have a trickle down effect of these Liberians who taking managerial position, also investing in the economy, and there's an added value to that. Besides that, you want to be reviewing their contract and their investment in terms of implementation. What level are they? Because if they have not been go they haven't been any compliance evaluation of the investment, you can tackle them and say, look, you know what, you lack this other area, we want you to say role. You're supposed to, in this contract, you're supposed to connect farm to rural market, or you're supposed to build school, you're supposed to do that. So whatever area that they are reneged on, you can say from that end, say
Yeah.
education support. They build schools. That also help to increase the capacity of manpower development in the economy. So we say,
Hmm.
okay, we're not going to go after you. You're already doing your advanced taxes. We agree. We're not, but you haven't done X, Y, Z. These
Hmm.
are some of the things that will help to stimulate and also balance the issue of advanced taxation. Now, one of the
Yeah.
problem there too is that you need to also find out whether this thing was genuinely done, because people might go and negotiate on the side and
That's what
in
I was just going to follow up with. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
people might go and negotiate on the side to go and collect advanced taxes without the consent of the government, or that never enter the revenue. You can follow that, investigate. If it's something that someone did it, it's not official transaction, that person can be held accountable. And that's one of the
Uh-huh.
reasons why I say the incoming administration need to be very diligent, and we need to have the leakage on our taxes in Liberia gotta be closed. There's a need for us to
Perfect.
work on that. Thank you.
Perfect. Mr. Flomo or Jimmy, any comments on
Yeah,
this before we?
Go ahead,
yeah.
Fleming.
You know, collecting government taxes or revenue ahead of time. Um, I really don't see that to be prudent. That sounds like a corruption. It's not a good thing. Uh, taxes you. That's why we say people shouldn't be going collecting taxes from people. The electronic system will be adequate, will be enough,
All
will be the
right.
best security that we can have in place. So nobody gonna go to somebody and say, "Oh, you need to pay your taxes," when the taxes should be paid online. You know, you pay your taxes online. Even like yeah, if you want to renew your license plate on your car, man, you just go online and pay that money. The next thing they put in the mail and come. Same we don't have
Yeah.
that correct sufficient mailing system there. You pay your tax, you pay your taxes online. And you start to collect the paper. You walk there, your confirmation number. You show it. They get your print out. You know, we start from somewhere. But the electronic system would be better, would be great for Liberia moving forward. Nobody is wrong for anyone to go stand to investors say, oh, pay your taxes ahead. And those investors, they're friendly. They feel like, well, these are big fish, these are big hands. If I don't do
Hmm.
it, they may have the propensity to denigrate me, denigrate my business. You know, so
Right.
let me just do it. Even though the investor is aware and he or she knows that it's wrong, but
Yeah.
they all in Liberia now, they understand how it runs, so they
Right.
accept it as it is. But it is a wrong thing to collect taxes ahead of time. No.
Yeah. Jimmy, any comments before we on
Well,
this?
you know, when government is in a tight space,
Uh,
they do collect uh, money ahead of time.
mhm,
If you have to pay salaries and you don't have that money, it is often that you see government going to these companies and asking to be paid ahead of time.
mhm.
Can I? I'm not cutting you, Jimmy. Please, 1 second. Um, what you're saying, I agree, but that's why you have budget. So the ensuing year or the year to come, you already got a budget set. You're working within that budget. So as a result, you're not going to be going to investors to pay your taxes ahead. So that is why good budgetary planning is significant to the nation. Good budgetary planning.
Yeah.
Have great experts who are knowledgeable to that. So when the budget is planned, you have no budget shortfall that will make you run to investors to pay your taxes ahead.
Jimmy, sorry, Jimmy,
Yeah,
you were
Hmm.
finish your thought. Sorry.
Yeah, but that even being true, Kasali,
yeah,
um, remember the budget is a projection,
yeah.
and sometimes your revenues fall short for whatever reason. And so if you forecast what you think you would get, but when you don't get it, you still have to pay salaries. Yeah, you still have to meet your debt servicing. Right now, government Liberia is in trouble because they did not meet it. So what I'm just saying that is one of the tools that government have been using to try to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of that because even sometimes they go as far as taking years of royalty payments from these extractive industries. It's almost like mortgaging your future, your children, your generations to come.
Mhm.
If you take all the money that they're supposed to get 20 years from now,
Yeah.
what will they have? It is not the advisable or the best way to go. But that is why you need people who will be able to find ways to stimulate the economy. It's not an easy task. It's very daunting, and you will need some unique idea. You also will need, and to me, I say you need a foreign policy. You see, all these things really fall back on your foreign policy because when you have a policy that encourages countries to deal with you, encourages countries to have faith in your administration, all the way, it all depends on how you conduct yourself. There are some people, there's some countries that go borrow money from the IMF, the World Bank at whatever the going interest rate is. Then some countries they make arrangements with other countries and they get a sweetheart deal, and if through that sweetheart deal they're able to recover, experience economic recovery. So your foreign relations, especially in this competitive world, is very important to
Yeah.
the growth of your economy. I mean, it's
Well,
not something it's highly sensitive and important. You even once upon a time we used to have such a great deal with Nigeria. They used to give us oil at times.
mhm,
So when your the way you navigate your foreign policy will also determine how how lucrative the opportunities will be available to you. So I think this administration, they got a lot to prove.
yeah.
They got a lot to do, and we all look to that as a favorable because it will benefit all of us. You know, but it's not no easy task. And if I were the next finance minister, even though I know some good ones, I don't know if they will be tapped You know, like I can mention a few, like the guy like Dr. Gompu. He's a guy I admire very much when it comes to economics, and a
Mhm.
couple of other people. So, but we'll see. So we're in a wait and see mode. But these things can be handled. You know.
Yeah.
Gabriel,
Well,
let me comment. This whole issue of
go ahead.
advanced tax, it has its own the way of undermining the revenue of the economy. But
Yep.
I'm also
I
thinking,
agree.
I'm also thinking that the new administration will have another option, that is to say, the audit should not just be only about government offices. They should also be with the private sector and investors as well, because across Africa, there's issue of misinvoicing. There are
Hmm.
also that many African countries are losing more on their natural resources,
Hmm.
and that itself is something that the new administration should be taking into consideration. How do you audit? Instead of honor declaring your export, and just to make sure that you bribe people in the system, is something that you're gonna go after. And these are another sources. That's why I said there are many sources of revenue or income generation for this administration you gotta take into consideration.
Hmm.
If any company say, okay, we've done advanced taxes payment, well, fine. But let's see your output, let's see your production. What the royalty you pay. Besides the royalty, there's supposed to be export taxes. Or what did you do? Let's see your sales overseas. That's a shipping point and destination assessment. It's all of these things I think that will also help in terms of our trade. So
Yeah.
that's a little point I just want to bring in. Thank you.
No,
That's great.
and thank you all. I believe this for the sake of time, we have went over probably 30
2
over
hours.
30 minutes, 40 minutes, right? Um, so again, I think this was a good discussion. There was a lot to talk about, but I don't think we exhausted because we kept going and coming back and going off tangent and coming back. But that was overall, I think it was a great discussion. Um, Before we wrap up, I would like to hear, get your closing comments, parting statements. In turn, you can take it from any angle, any topic we may have talked about, and so I'd like to get your closing statements. Mr. Flomo, since you're the new guy here, we're going to put you on the spot first to give your closing statement in terms of, and as I said, it could be from any topic we talk about, but you know, uh, any
Okay.
parting comment, please.
Is why limited to what we talk about, or just
No, it's not limited to what we talk about. It could be in general.
okay?
It could be
Great.
in general.
You know,
Yeah,
um, in my closing statement, I just want to give some advices to the incoming government,
yeah.
um, to take as a guardian principles
Hmm.
in their leadership.
Yep.
Or like I said earlier, the people voted Ambassador Boakai because they want change. They want change. They want change of life. They want their life to be improved. So I wrote 10 reasons, 10 cardinal points for which the George Weah led government failed, which resulted to them not being re-elected. So
Hmm.
let this government coming take a look at it. It's very important. One, the lack of fulfillment of the people basic needs, their basic social services were lacking. No job. People could not feed themselves. Number two, the failure to provide livable wage or income for Liberian people. Three,
Hmm.
abuse of human rights.
Hmm.
During the Weah government, you saw people were being killed, people were being abused, human rights. A
Hmm.
lot of human rights violations
Hmm.
have been in our country. Number four, the abuse of they say abuse of power, the lack of accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability have been absent throughout. So this new government should ensure accountability be present.
Hmm.
Because when the people see you holding your ministers, your deputy minister, your cabinets, all of them are being accountable for what they do, how they perform their day-to-day activities. It creates high level of credibility for your government.
Hmm.
Number five, the lack of security.
Hmm.
the outgoing administration, security are not being prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
People were being robbed, people were being killed, security was not prioritized. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
security is very, very cardinal to any developing nation because people, investors want to feel protected, they want to feel secure, they want to feel that their country, they come to spend the money, they are secure, they are
Mm-hmm.
accepted, they are secure. And then with the lack of economic growth, there have been no economic growth. Absolutely nothing. No economic growth. Why? If there were economic growth, the people wouldn't be suffering. The people wouldn't be hungry. No job, lack of economic growth. The infiltration of drugs and other controlled substances within the Liberian society. That is something that everybody is aware of. Drugs.
Yeah.
Those are things that we have voted out for.
Yeah.
Number 8, inadequate health care. No health care. AFQ, all the other hospitals. Very poor, very, very poor health care.
Uh-huh.
And the lack of good health care can diminish the living standard of the people. If somebody's only live for 70, they ain't going to. Because why? No good health care.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9,
Okay.
high level of corruption within government and other private sectors. 10, the failure of the implementation of the rule of law. The people are crying. The people believe that you will implement the TRC. You will implement the TRC report. That's how the people believe in you. Those are one of the things for which the people voted in Pastor Boakai. I'm not saying that, oh, you got to do it, but I'm saying remember what the people voted you for. So get that. So employ people, bring people on board that will be able to fulfill your agenda, the agenda of the country, the goal, what you chose, you so desire to see Liberia be. Bring people that will love Liberia, people that talk Liberia, that believe in Liberia, that love Liberia. Don't bring people to enrich themselves. People who love Liberia to the depth of their heart. Those are people that needed that needed for the society. Those are people that the Liberian population want to see. Not people that will be
Perfect.
corrupt, that want it for themselves and their family.
Perfect.
Take it back.
But how will
Thank
you
you.
know, Cassidy? You're a young man. I like to know, get your ideas.
Yeah,
I asked Ellen Johnson Sirleaf this same question.
yeah.
How will you know if they will be honest, and if they're not, what how will you handle it?
You know, this is so. Thank you for the question. It's beautiful that you brought this up. You know, a man gonna say, "I'm trustworthy." Believe me, I will do this. I will do that. We all see it during the election. That's why when Americana made that statement, or people that manage their expectation, man, you don't say those kind of statements. You haven't taken office. You cannot. The people can manage. The people get so much expectation of you. But let me dive into what you just said. Yes, it's difficult to know whether somebody will be trustworthy or they will be trusted. But again, we got something called history, the track record. Look at the track record of those people. Look at the track record of those people. Taking into serious consideration their track record. You know, we don't have nothing to call background checking like bureau. You know, that's why we talk about electronic system. Because before somebody hire you, they put your name, your social, your date of birth. They start running it. The person walking over from the computer, they're running it. Later on, we get a report, we send it to the office of the president, make a determination what you think about this person. You know? So track record will speak. So I'm not asking the president and his team because because they got people that are doing the whole vetting process. Those people should be very careful. They should be confident. They should be conscientious as to what the people they bring on board. Let your conscience set you. Not because you friendly with somebody, not because in Ambassador Boakai in America, you were all behind. No, those things shouldn't work like that. Even somebody who are not behind, but when the person has the ability, the mindset, the person believing Liberia, they speak Liberia, they want to see Liberia moving from one end to another. They got good track record, get the history, the track record, get it. Even the person who are living in America, yeah, man, you still run a background check on that person. Anything criminal, anything mischievous, no, out of the book. So
Yep.
you need credible people.
Perfect. Jimmy, your closing statement.
I mean, we
I
gotta
have you on mute.
always have an up. I'm on mute.
No, no, no. We can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have a glorious opportunity to turn the ship around
Hmm.
Yes.
and make Liberia prosperous.
Hmm.
I know a lot of intelligent, well-educated um, men on that side
Hmm.
who I'm sure willing to put their quota in.
Right.
But what will have to be controlled is the integrity and the honesty of the administration. They're going to have to be careful with that because that runs rampant, and people have gotten accustomed to that. And for you to change people's habits, it's not so easy. So it's a tall order, but it
Hmm.
can be done. And we always like to cite other countries, but I'm telling you, Singapore is a model for me. I,
Hmm.
I heard what Kigame is saying and they're doing. They always use him, but he's using it through a very dictatorship. And a democratically elected person may not be able to exercise that sort of rigidity. But Singapore, the people decided that they will severely punish anyone engaged in any form of corruption.
Yeah.
Everybody signed off on it. And since they've done that,
Hmm.
that country now is one of the cleanest, very functional, honest, industrious nations. If we do actually want to see Liberia turn around, then we have to sign on to this because we know in ourselves this thing is all through the system.
Hmm.
And if we're going to make a dent in it, if we're going to make up our minds and get rid of this cancer, then we all need to sign on up for it, and there should be no exceptions. So I'm looking forward to a great next 6 years and see what it turns into.
Thank you. Deborah, are you still with us? I would like to hear your closing statement.
Is what I will say is thank you so much for the engagement out there, and many thanks to Jimmy and Fumo for the time. I just want to encourage the incoming administration to be very vigilant in terms of living up to the expectation of people by keeping themselves or all officials accountable to whatever task given them. Accountability, it shouldn't be just about just going to go audit. It's being accountable to your daily work habit, your lifestyle, and everything should be something that should tell the story for the Liberian people to know that you are deviating from the past and bringing in new way of life, a new way
Exactly.
of thinking. And Bishop could go in line with the president. He let his own slogan and say, "Think Liberia, love Liberia, and together we can build Liberia." So while thinking should be away from the past and be new thinking of saying, let me be accountable for the time, my work hour, my my profile, my portfolio, how do I protect it, how do I perform in line with the task given me. And one recommendation which I've informally given, but I also want to give it here, informally discuss with people is that this incoming administration, the first year, all those cabinet ministers should be given performance contract.
Hmm.
All cabinet ministers, all sector heads should sign a performance contract that they will be gauged by from the day they take office to the time. With a 1 year contract, 1 year, 2 year, it could be reviewed, but they should be given performance contract. Like that, accountability start from right there. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Again, I really appreciate all of you guys, taking the time. Again, Mr. Flomos, Mr. Kazeli, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome,
Hopefully
bro.
this won't be your last time. Jimmy Depu, I know it's been a while since you joined us, but hopefully you continue to join us frequently. I think this was a great discussion. I believe so. Again, join us next Saturday. Same time, same hour. I mean, same time, same day. And we will have another topic for you um, uh, on the show here. Well, quickly, what I want to say before we get out of here, I'll be very quick. I think you guys have said it all. Jimmy, you talked about another glorious opportunity. I think we have another. You're right about that. I think we have another great opportunity, like we did doing Ellen, the first Ellen administration. Hopefully, we can capitalize on that. We don't miss the boat again like we did the last time. But I also believe we should really focus on the private sector. I know everybody keep talking about this government, what this government should do, what they shouldn't do, but hopefully they can really be intentional about the private sector. If they create a private sector where jobs are available in the country, we're graduating thousands of people, kids every year that come into the economy, no jobs. If you are able to create an avenue in the private sector where they are hired, they come out of college, they're able to find a job, most of the focus will be taken off of you. Not that we want the focus to be taken off of you. They won't be looking at you, the government, to be doing everything because there is a thriving private sector. Everybody
Yeah.
will want to be getting jobs, so that less attention will be paid to you. Right? Um, I believe you guys should also be intentional about what you want to do. Intentional about your fiscal policies. Intentional about your monetary policies, and intentional about your negotiation, whether it is international negotiation partnership you're going to. Those people you're negotiating with have their own interests, whether it's a company or as a country, they're protecting their own interests. You go there with that intentionality of presenting, protecting the Liberian people at all costs. I don't care what is in the contract, that should be your first priority. As I always like to say, be bold, be intentional, and be direct about what you want for the country. And hopefully, again, as Jimmy said, this is a prime opportunity, very good opportunity. Hopefully, we don't miss this opportunity again to put this country at least on an upward trajectory to where it needs to be. So that's my spiel for now. And again, thank you guys for joining us on this Saturday. Hopefully, you're able to take away something from here. If not, join us next Saturday. We'll have something for you. I promise you that. If you believe that. So it was nice chatting with you. As we always like to say, we're all Liberians, whether you like what we said or not, whether you agree with us or you think, we could have, whatever it is your opinion is, what background you come from, we're all Liberians, and that will remain the fact about all of us. So without further ado, see you next Saturday. Adios. Thank you guys.
All
Bye.
right.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira o. Ilẹ̀ ìrètè àríwá. Labira mi labira.